What would happen if there were two armies, both with an equal number of men, facing and fighting each other in a fierce battle about life, death, victory, and defeat? You would assume that it can go both ways, depending on the circumstances of the environment, leaders, and strategies, and so on. But what happens if an army with only 30,000 men faces an army with 200,000 men? This is, by the way, 6.66 times more men. There's no way the 200,000 can lose, or can they? This video is about the infamous Battle of Jinxing, one of the most humiliating military defeats in history. The Battle of Jingxing was part of the Zhou-Han contention, which was essentially a period of discontinuity between the Qin and Han dynasties in ancient China. The Qin was, by the way, the first dynasty of the Imperial China, and Han the second one. After the Qin dynasty was overthrown by rebel forces in 206 BC, the former Qin Empire was split into the 18 kingdoms, which were ruled by the rebel leaders and surrendered Qin generals. Thus a civil war broke out between two contending powers, Xiang Yu's Western Shu, who was the hegemon king, and Liu Bang's Han. He was the founder and first emperor of the Han dynasty. There were of course other conflicts between other kingdoms, but these were not as significant as the main conflict between Zhou and Han. The Battle of Jingxing was fought in 205 BC between the army of Han and the Zhao army. The army of Zhao by Zhao Xi, a descendant of Zhao state, and Chen An, who was serving as Zhao Xi's prime minister. The army of Han was led by Han Xin, who was born 231 BC and died 35 years old in 196 BC. He was a military general and politician, and is being remembered as one of the three heroes of the early Han dynasty. He is also being remembered as a great military leader, because of the tactics and strategies he used in his battles, and was also undefeated in battle. Han Xin was considered as the god of war. Why? Well, you will hear why in a bit. After the state of Wei was conquered by the general Han Xin, Liu Bang, the duty was the king of Han, ordered Han Xin to attack the lands of Zhao and die. He, with the help of Prince of Shangshan, the former Prince of Zhao, completely annihilated the forces commanded by the Dai Prime Minister Xiao Yu, who was a subordinate Dai for Chen Yu, and quickly marched across the Tai Hang Mountains into Zhao. Meanwhile, Chen Yu was getting counseled by the Lord of Guangwu Li Ziyu to block off the important routes across the Tai Hang Mountains, especially in the Jingxing Pass. Chen Yu could have easily won if he blocked off the routes and exploited Han Xing's inevitable logistics problems, but he insisted not to, because he prided himself as the commander of a large army with the righteousness and 200,000 men. So he took the attack by the small army of Han Xing with 30,000 men lightly, and believed that he could easily win. Oh boy, was he wrong. The day of the battle was finally here, and Han Xing emerged from the Jingxing Pass, facing the army of Zhao across the Tao River. The evening before the battle, Han Xing dispatched 2,000 mounted men near the Zhao camp, so that they could overrun the Zhao camp as soon as the entire Zhao army moved out to press the attack. Another great preparation and idea of his was to have 10,000 men across the Tao River to dig ditches, and he fortified the defenses of his bridgehead, where he operated out of it. So now, with his back facing to the river, means that he literally can't escape and retreat if he loses. Chen Yu's ego raised after seeing this move, and he was even more sure that he would win, because the enemy was making beginner mistakes. This is, by the way, one of the origins of the saying, fighting a battle with one's back facing a river. After a simple breakfast, Han Xing and his army marched across the Tao River to finally meet the Zhao forces, while displaying his banner and other insignia prominently to get the attention of the foe. Han Xing feigned defeat early in battle and began to withdraw to the prepared position, while the enemy was pursuing them. Because they now fought a battle with their back facing a river, they used everything they had to fight. Of course, they also had the help of the bridgehead, ditches and other fortifications. Because the attack of the Zhao was more indecisive than resolute, the Zhao commanders tried to regroup the troops for further action. As they withdrew, panic began among the soldiers, because the red battle flag of Han was waving at their camp, and that naturally created the impression that they were in fact being ambushed from behind. The army of Zhao couldn't even restore formation and order, not even with the help of their officers. Han used the panic among the Zhao army as his advantage and began a brutal counter full of brute force where he attacked with everything he had. At least 150,000 men from the Zhao army were killed in this legendary battle, and many fled but in vain. Chen Yu was caught on the Zi River and was killed in action. The prince Zhao Xi was captured. The army of Han had a casualty of 5,000 men. After the battle, Han Xing and his fellow officers and army had a large and deserved feast, where some of the officers, still somewhat in disbelief at their own fortune, asked for the reasons for the astounding deployments. Han Xing answered that he didn't got a well-rehearsed army and wasn't a general of high standing, so he had to resort to more drastic measures to force everyone to fight hard. That moment led to his saying, "You achieve survival by fighting from a position of certain death." You see why he slowly became the god of war, as I said earlier. This Battle of Jingxing, or as some call it the Battle of Tao River, is still considered as one with the most humiliating military defeats. The war ended in 202 BC with a total Han victory at the Battle of Jingxing, where, by the way, Han Xing the Giga Chad was the commander along with Liu Bang. Xiang Yu, the hegemon king, was killed. Liu Bang subsequently proclaimed himself emperor and established the Han dynasty as the ruling dynasty of China. I hope you liked this history video. It's not perfect since it is my first one of this sort, but I still had fun making it and try to improve. Please comment on this video and or give me some feedback. It is very appreciated. You will also help this channel if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. I wish you a nice day and keep curious about learning something new. See you in the next video.